Hey there, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here, and welcome to Season 7 of the podcast. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for checking it out. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm excited for 2025. I've got a lot of cool updates, and the purpose of this episode is going to be to kind of walk you through what to expect from All Things Overlanding in 2025. I'm in my truck right now, just wanted to use this time to catch you guys up and kind of give you an idea of what to expect as we move into the new year. And I hope you guys are excited. So if you want to hear more about what is going to be coming to All Things Overlanding in 2025, lots of new stuff, stay tuned.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. All
right, guys. So as I mentioned in the intro, today is the first episode of 2025 season of All Things Overlanding, 7th year of doing this. Now, to be fair, the first season, quote unquote, was maybe like 4 months, so it wasn't really a full year. So 6.5, we'll call it, right? But wanted to give you guys an idea of kind of what to expect this year from the channel, from YouTube, from all my social media, kind of where I plan to take it, my goals, all that sort of thing. And I think that this will be interesting for you guys because then you'll know what to expect as the year goes on, right? And you want a channel to be subscribed to for the long term, to get good value out of, to get good content that's applicable for your type of overlanding, then hopefully this will help you kind of determine that. So again, it's 2025, thinking forward here. I'm definitely going to be making some changes to the YouTube channel, to the podcast. So again, if you've been with me, I've done a weekly podcast, and that's been good and it's been bad. Part of it that I like is the consistency. I think you guys like the consistency of that too. But another thing that I've noticed from talking to you guys, from comments and stuff that you guys have left is, hey, sometimes I feel like you're kind of saying the same things, or hey, sometimes you're focused on too newbie of stuff, right? Like just the basic stuff, and I've outgrown you. What I will say to the repetitiveness of it is, yeah, it's hard, right? Doing 52 episodes a year, I find myself, because I believe certain things, right? So like when I talk about winter camping, I'll say some of the same modifications that I might make for fall camping because they're similar. So again, I don't want to just make content for the sake of making content and just make weekly podcasts just to say that I'm making a weekly podcast. So my plan for the timeline is to go to bi-weekly. So you'll get 2 podcasts a month. But then my hope with that is I'll be able to put more thought, more research, more effort into each episode, and I'll be able to provide more and more value. I don't plan to make them super long, but maybe more in the ballpark of 25 to 30 minutes instead of like the 15 to 20 minutes that they've been. So a little bit longer, but not crazy long. I still want to stick within your guys' commutes, right? I hear that from a lot of you folks is I can't listen to an hour and a half, 2 hour long podcast that's just too long. I don't have the time to do that, but a 20, 30 minute one is perfect. So I want to kind of keep it in that ballpark, but maybe be a little longer if the content requires it, right? But be really focused on providing really good, educational, helpful content that will, again, hopefully make your trips easier, save you money, save you time, that kind of thing. That is my goal for this next year. So bi-weekly podcasts are coming. Now, in addition to that, on the YouTube channel, a big focus has been kind of putting those podcast episodes over onto YouTube, and I will continue to do that. But again, hopefully with the higher quality, I'll be able to focus more on like the video aspect too. So whether you listen on the podcast or you watch, there'll be more engaging stuff to watch on the video side of it or on Spotify. But again, if you're listening, it'll still translate perfectly fine for the audio side of things. So another thing that will continue on the channel is gear stuff. Now, one thing I want to be very intentional about and really kind of point out is that there are a lot of channels I feel like that they receive free gear and then they do a gear review. But if you notice, if you go back and watch any of my gear videos that I've done, I always make sure to focus on the features and the benefits of it and kind of how I intend to use a piece of gear. Not so much on like a review or on a longevity piece because I haven't used it long enough, right? But then on a lot of the podcast episodes and things like that, you'll notice I will talk about like, here's my favorite 3 things or 5 things of fall overlanding gear or winter overlanding gear, the things that changed my trips. Those are pieces of gear that I've used for 1 to 3 or more years that I really have experience with, that I can actually speak to how it's worked, whether it's a good piece of gear or not. But again, I want to keep focusing on gear to give you guys ideas, right? To show you cool new pieces of gear, to show you things that I think are useful and good for especially budget-minded overlanders. But as I've grown too, I've also come to realize that better quality gear is also good and can actually save you money. And what I mean by that is, and I mentioned this in a few episodes before, sometimes just buying the cheapest piece of gear isn't the cheapest way to buy gear, because you may have to replace it every year, every 2 years. Kind of goes for like diesel heaters, right? You can buy $100 diesel heater. It should run for a year or two, but then you're probably going to have your, plug go bad, your diesel plug go bad, or something's going to go wrong with it electrically. You're going to have some sort of an issue with the cheaper piece of gear. Whereas if you buy a better diesel heater up front, even though it costs a little bit more up front, if it lasts for twice as long or 3 times as long, it's actually cheaper in the long run. So I am going to be focused a lot on trying to build some relationships with brands that I really, really like, companies that make really cool stuff. They don't know this. I haven't talked to any of them. I've never really had sponsors except for a few years ago, and I don't want to go to like a big sponsored channel where I'm, pushing gear or anything like that, but I do want to build relationships with brands that have really good gear that I could share with you guys. And again, no pressure. I'm not a salesman. My job is not to sell you gear. My job is to give you information on gear, and hopefully it's helpful. And then when you make a decision, it helps you pick a piece of gear that works best for you. Another thing that I want to really focus on and sort of change up on the channel is that historically I have been, I learned everything I know about making YouTube videos and making podcasts from listening to other podcasts and watching YouTube, right? And that being said, there are a lot of formulas and stuff. Like you create like a really interesting sort of hook, an intro that gets people interested in listening to the whole podcast or watching the whole episode on YouTube, right? And I'm not saying that that's going to change necessarily, but what that does is it kind of puts you into a formula. It puts you into like a repetitive sort of rut where you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I definitely feel like I've kind of hit that point where I kind of just repeat myself over and over again. And I want to kind of stop that. I want to make things more interesting, more exciting. And to do that, I'm going to focus more on bringing my personality into the channel. So because I've been sort of formulaic in the past, I've been doing what I thought YouTube was supposed to be, right? And not necessarily what I want to be or what I want to do, right? So part of what I'm going to be changing is, again, doing some more like this week in the garage, do-it-yourself stuff. That's the stuff I really love. That's the stuff I think is helpful. Like my Unistra video that I did years ago. A lot of people have said, man, that really helped me get ideas. That helped me, make my own thing. It saved me a ton of money because I didn't have to go buy an expensive bed rack for my truck or roof rack for my Subaru or whatever, vehicle you're driving. And I want to do more stuff like that. I'm going to be redoing the whole rear end of this truck, and I'm going to be almost exclusively DIYing the majority of the stuff that's going to go into the back of the truck. So again, more focus on me bringing my personality into the channel. I like comedy. I like horror. I like that stuff. Everything will still be about overlanding, but again, I want to inject some personality and sort of my thoughts and stuff on overlanding on different topics. So definitely look forward to that. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun. So again, more fun content, more educational content. I'm focused on kind of broadening out what I'm doing for the channel too. So I'm working on some stuff for other folks that want to get into YouTube, that want to get into podcasting, that want to do that stuff. I've learned a ton over the last few years, and I want to share that knowledge with you guys. It's a shortcut. So it doesn't take you 7 years to get to where I finally am at now, which is just passable, right? So again, there'll be more stuff like that, maybe some self-help type courses, things like that, where I can kind of share the educational side of things with you guys. So look forward to that stuff too. And then to kind of wrap this thing up, trip videos, right? I've kind of been doing the same stuff for the last few years. I am kind of a creature of habit. I've gotten into the habit of going to More Expo, which I love, to Core, which is awesome. And I love both those events. And I would encourage anyone that hasn't been to go and check them out. But I've been for like 5 or 6 years now. So I think this year, because the time is limited, right? We all have families and kids. That's one thing that I think a lot of folks on YouTube, on podcasts forget when they kind of start to grow a little bit, is they forget about all the new folks that have restrictions like full-time jobs, that have kids with sports, that have families and stuff that they have to do, that takes away from time that they may be out overlanding. We don't all work full time for YouTube. We don't all make enough money from YouTube to be able to just travel for a month at a time, right? And I don't want to ever do that. I don't ever want to lose that. I want to travel more, but I don't ever want to, completely lose sight of the fact that people have lives and that I have a life. And I want to be able to do that stuff while also focusing on bringing you guys good newbie type content so that you can continue to learn from the stuff that I'm learning from as well. But regarding the trips and stuff, I also want to focus really heavily on going to new places, trying out some new expos this year. I've got a couple in mind that, I'll be talking about more as the year goes on. But I definitely want to be, checking out some new expos. I went to Overland Expo East for the first time last year, and it was a ton of fun and really neat to see another approach to it. And so I want to do that this year with more new places. And then tied into those, I want to take some trips. So I really want to focus on the Midwest. And by Midwest, I mean, anywhere within 10 to 12 hours of Indiana. So Michigan, Wisconsin, West Virginia, even Virginia a little bit, some Kentucky stuff, out west a little bit. So I'm going to be traveling further, and I want to tie some trips into those expos too. So as I go out to the expo, maybe take 3 or 4 days on my way out to camp and explore, and then share those areas that maybe you haven't heard of. I know in the Midwest, I struggle a lot with trying to find new places. So I want to do some exploring this year and find new places that I can share with you guys so that you kind of have some ideas at least where to start. Now, obviously, I won't share like specific coordinates of a place, but I will share like, hey, there's this national park called X, and here's where it is. Check it out. Go explore it, right? So a lot more trip stuff, a lot more new expos this year, higher quality content, bi-weekly podcast episodes with a focus on quality. Those are my goals for the year. Those are my focuses. So I hope that that's exciting for you guys. Again, I've loved doing this. I love the reactions from folks. I love folks that have gotten into the hobby because they listened to something that I made. So I'm going to continue to try and provide as much value as possible for you guys, as much education and information as I possibly can. I'm going to try and up the quality and make it more interesting and a little different so I can get out of that rut. So again, that's what's coming in 2025. Thank you guys that have stuck with me so far. Thanks to the new folks for checking it out. And I hope you'll subscribe. In the description down below will be links to all my other social channels, so check those out. There's also links to all my featured partners. That is something that I'm going to focus on this year too. In order to do this more, I need to make some money off of it. But I want to do it because I have a full-time job. I want to do it in a way where I'm really working with companies that make really cool stuff and just want to share that stuff with people. They don't want to push stuff. I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to be selling you guys anything. I'm going to be sharing information on cool brands and only working with brands that I want to work with. So I don't know what any of those are yet. I literally just want to do it, but I have not put any thought into it. But so if you start to see that stuff, I hope that you guys will support those brands, because if they are a brand that is willing to work with me on my channel, they're going to be a cool, fun brand that is interested in overlanding and sort of supporting our lifestyle and bringing us cool products that we otherwise wouldn't have, right? So anyways, that will be in the link in the description below. So check out those featured partners. And then, of course, there's the Newbie Overlanders group, which is totally free to join. It's awesome. There is YouTube join, that button down below this, where you can passively support the channel, get early access to the videos. So that's a way to support the channel and help me make more videos. And then there's the Patreon page, which has a link down below as well. But that is a really fun place. We do a 24/7 Discord. We talk to each other all the time. We do a once-a-month Zoom call. So there's a ton of value in there for you if you want to be more involved with all things overlanding. And then, of course, there is a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers, all things overlanding patches and stickers. So if you're into any of that stuff, check that out as well. But again, thanks you guys for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.